When you have PANS, you may have severe OCD. That is a very common symptom. This can feel like your mind is hounding you, as you may have horrifying, intrusive thoughts continuously, no matter how much you want them to stop. The obsessive compulsive disorder may steal your inner voice and comment on things, making you think things you would never want to think. You may be pestered with doubts and worries that won't leave you in peace. You may feel as if you are drowning in your own thoughts. The fear you feel can be intense. So intense that you feel as if you are burning up. You're almost convinced you're going to be responsible for some sort of tragedy occurring. Your mind is threatening you, reminding you that if anything bad happens, it'll all be on you. This is a sort of lie that OCD can tell you.
Hi, my name is Jordana. I have pediatric acute onset neuropsychiatric syndrome, that is also known as PANS. I have experienced just about every single symptom of PANS. I did have a little bit of an odd case because I also did have Bartonella, and it caused me a lot of psych issues, different personality switches and dissociative hallucinations and things like that. So many people don't experience that. However, I do have just about every single symptom. My very first symptom was what I call piano fingers. So I would get this almost like vibration down my spine, and I would shake like that. My fingers would go out and go like that. It would happen during science class multiple times, and I didn't know what was going on. Then I woke up one morning and had such severe OCD that I really couldn't get out of bed in the morning. It was like the world was eating me alive.
Days, weeks, and months go by. You take pill after pill and after pill. Your cupboards in your kitchen are full of more medicine than food, of which most don't even work.
Hours of your day are taken up by rituals. They are utterly exhausting and leave hardly any usable hours left in the day. You may be late for school or to work due to these rituals. You may not be able to get to bed early because you're up until the middle of the night, still doing your rituals. You may need to even get up in the night to perform the rituals. You can't use a laptop or computer because your OCD demands that you scroll up and down and up and down and up and down the page to ensure that the sidebar taps to the top of the screen until it feels just right. You may feel uncomfortable sensations within you before you tic, and even outside of you at times. You may feel guilty for having this condition and for not getting better yet, but it really isn't your fault, and it never was. You just have to find what works for you. You haven't failed in any way, and you can take credit for your resilience.
My name's Cece, and I was diagnosed with PANDAS at age 10, and I'm now 20 years old, so I've been riding the BGE roller coaster for years now. I think something that's important to understand for someone treating BGE is that you're not only going to be treating BGE, you have to treat the trauma that comes along with having your life turned upside down overnight multiple times, and the doctors who have gaslit and shamed you about opening up about your symptoms. You have to treat the school system, which is infected with ableism and irritation towards you. You have to treat society that keeps insisting that they know what's best for you when really you're the only one who knows what's best for you, even at a young age. I think something I've struggled with the most is people trying to push me to do things that my body is just not able to do. I've had to learn to say, no, I can't do that. I'm in a flare-up, and take things at my own pace. Memory loss is pretty bad from my childhood, but as I get older, I'm slowly regaining some parts of my memory that I've lost, and they're filled with medical trauma. I just had a vivid memory come back to me of being held down at age 10 on a chair while two nurses pinned down my arm to take blood from me after I told them I didn't want my blood taken. I also remember my school counselor taking me to her office and say, "You're making your mom cry. Are you sure your symptoms are as bad as they say they are? Why don't you stop exaggerating and just go back to normal?" What a way to treat a child. The lack of respect in society has shaped me in more ways than even I know, because I can't remember a lot of it. I'm now old enough to say, I think this is necessary, or I need you to stop, or I need to take a break, or from whatever treatment I'm getting, and legally they have to stop. But at that age, 10, even 16 and 17, no one cares what you have to say or believes you when you say you're struggling, and that in itself is traumatizing. So on top of the severe OCD, psychosis, tics, anxiety, etc., that a lot of us are experiencing, we're also getting trauma or even PTSD. It's not fair to us that we have to go through so much just to get treatment, and in the meantime, society is pretty much fighting against our basic needs.
Really heartbreaking to think of all the people out there who have been misunderstood because of a lack of awareness. This is why awareness is so important, but sometimes parents are blamed and parents are told that it's their parenting or that they're not setting strong enough boundaries, and this is really sad because imagine how it must feel to see your child suffer so much, crying and screaming and begging you to make it stop, and then you're blamed for that. As a parent, you're blamed for causing it. That is horrific. And it's because a lot of people with PANS/PANDAS have oppositional defiance like symptoms and rages and irritability and anger and personality changes, and sometimes that can look like bad behavior, but it's really not. It is the brain inflamed. The brain is inflamed, which means that people can't control their emotions and feelings or their thoughts and actions. But it is horrible for a parent to be treated that way, but also the individual. An individual takes this stuff in, and a person may feel like they're badly behaved for having this. They may feel like they're a bad person. That can have a really big impact on someone's self-perception and self-esteem. People may think that they are just a horrible, mean person and that they're naughty, but it's really not that at all. It is a condition that's neurological and not in a person's control.
Doctors who have no knowledge whatsoever about PANS/PANDAS prescribing you psychotropical meds, thinking it will solve everything. Finally finding a doctor who's willing to treat you and find some treatment that you respond to, allowing you to get a glimpse of your life back, only to suddenly stop responding to it.
When you're in a PANS/PANDAS flare, you really miss yourself sometimes. This will be different for everyone, but I know in my case, I was looking at a picture of myself and I think I was like crying because usually I would be able to deal with something like that if it was someone else and help them, but because I was the one whose mind was hardly my own anymore, I couldn't help myself. And people can really miss themselves because we do act and feel very, very, very different when we're in a flare, and that can be terrifying.
It doesn't feel like you're going a step back. It feels like you've just fallen down the stairs. Right away, obsessive thoughts, OCD, anxiety and anger rages are back full on. I question everything I do, worrying if it's okay that I didn't eat all my ice cream, wondering if it's okay that I love my siblings and family, wondering if it's okay that I didn't say goodnight to everyone in my family. Spending more time at doctors, hospitals, and getting blood tests done than being with friends is the norm.
You struggle to read because your head is flooded with so many thoughts and mental compulsions that you can't focus, and you have to reread certain words and click the corner of every page before you turn it. You feel as if you aren't absorbing any of the words on the page.
Wanting to do things I enjoy and make me feel good, but not being able to do so because of anxiety, worrying, obsessive thoughts. Wondering and worrying if I miss the ball once at tennis, if that's bad, if something bad will happen. These are just a few things from the top of my head.
I've had people say before something like, you can't expect everyone to know about every condition. Only the people who are interested should know about PANS/PANDAS. And it makes sense that people say that. However, it's not that we want everyone to know, although that would be great, but we want the psychologists, psychiatrists and neurologists to know so that people can get the right diagnosis, because unfortunately there are too many people who have been misdiagnosed, and with awareness this is getting better. People are actually getting the correct diagnosis, but that can only happen with awareness, and there are a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists, I believe, who aren't aware of the conditions, and that's really bad because that's often where people are first referred when they develop the symptoms associated with PANS/PANDAS. We want enough people to know so that someone can potentially tell someone that this condition is a thing and it may be what's affecting them or their loved one. That can be enough to change a life. This is why awareness is important.
It feels amazing to be an advocate for PANDAS and PANS. For me personally, my family did know about PANDAS and PANS before because one of our neighbors had it. And we knew exactly what it was as soon as I woke up with the onset. So it took me 5 weeks to get the diagnosis, and then a proper diagnosis took me 8 weeks to get. But I know people that go undiagnosed for years and years and years. I've gotten a lot of messages of people saying that because of my account, they were able to figure out what they had wrong with them. I reached out to 3 people and said that it looks like they have PANDAS and PANS. They looked into it, and those 3 people did have PANDAS and PANS. And so it feels really amazing to be able to advocate and spread awareness for it, because it's a very common, it's not very common, but it's pretty common. It's estimated 1 in 200 kids, and still it's so rare because it's rarely diagnosed, and people just get diagnosed with actual chemical imbalance conditions when it's just a organic brain inflammation. Imagine waking up one morning paralyzed. The day before, you were completely fine, you went to school, you got in your bed, you laid down, you woke up the next day and you couldn't move. Hearing sounds in your room, feeling like someone's watching you, starting to have uncontrollable movements in your bodies, making sounds that you can't control, having people stare at you in public because of something that you can't control, losing your ability to hang out with friends, losing your ability to go to school, losing your ability to read, write, you losing your ability to walk, to do everything that you love. I had to leave field hockey, and field hockey was my favorite thing. I loved field hockey. I did it 7 days a week. I was on 2 different teams. It was my favorite thing in the entire universe, and I had to leave it because I forgot how to walk because of the brain. I got PANS November 22nd, 2019. I was 14 years old. It was soon after my freshman year of homecoming. I was completely normal. I was a completely normal teenager, and it happened to me, and you never think it's going to happen to you. And now I'm 16 years old. I have had PANS for just under 2 years now. And hopefully by next year I'm out of the PANS world and I can be a success story and continue to spread awareness on it, and show everyone that healing is possible.
Hi everyone, my name is Amber, and today I'm going to be talking about what it's like living with PANS and PANDAS. I thought I would originally be looking better in this video, but this is the reality of PANS. So I decided to show it to you guys real and raw. I originally developed pneumonia when I was 7 years old, which led to me developing symptoms at 10 years old. I started off with OCD and depression and suicidal ideation and difficulty swallowing. Then when I was 13, I started pulling my hair out. Then when I was 15, it started turning into an eating disorder. Then when I was 18, it turned into self-harming behaviors, depression, suicidal ideation, psychosis, hallucinations, seizures, tics, and paranoia.
Memory loss, not remembering sometimes who someone is normal with PANDAS. And bad times, even wishing you were never born, knowing that it would be so much easier because you just feel so tired of this, from struggling, so tired of battling everything, feeling emotionally exhausted and drained. These are all the norm. Not being able to do anything are also the norm. Sleeping doesn't work, sometimes eating doesn't work, nothing. And one of the worst things is having zero control, not knowing when it will end or what's coming next. Seeing all your friends living carefree lives just like a teenager should are also the norm. But this is not the life we deserve. We deserve to be living a happy, carefree life just like everybody else.
That everyone's on their own journey on this life, and there's no destination that we have to rush to.
It's heartbreaking to think of all the people out there who are just suffering and may not be diagnosed because they might not be aware of the conditions, or they might not be able to find a doctor who really understands. Thankfully, though, there are cases where people recover. There are cases that show hope. There are cases that give people hope. And there are doctors who do treat the conditions. The problem is they can be hard to find and expensive as well. Most of the PANS PANDAS doctors are private, so they cost a lot of money that some people don't have. So it's really sad that not everyone can access the care that they need.
We've been on this mission to find out what's wrong with me. So we've seen basically every specialist that you can think of. We've been to all these hospitals, and there was one doctor finally that ordered the Cunningham panel, which led to me getting diagnosed. After getting the diagnosis, I immediately got a tonsillectomy, not an adenoidectomy originally. I got antibiotics, IVIG, plasmapheresis, and then now for the future I have planned, because of relapses, I have planned an adenoidectomy since we forgot it the first time, more plasmapheresis, IVIG, and maybe rituximab if we need to go that far. And I've learned
I'm really lucky that I'm so much better than I ever thought I would be. I'm so much better than I was when I was a child. I'm so much better than I was just over a year ago. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm one of the people who has gotten a lot better, but people need the right treatment for that, and that's what we are really advocating for. Understanding so that we can get the care we need. And I'm really lucky that my case hasn't been as severe as some people in the PP community. Mine has been bad and really horrific at times, but there are people who go through that for most of their life, and that is tragic. There are people who have that tenfold, which is almost unimaginable, absolutely horrific. So
I've been out of school for 3 years now and out of work for 2 years now, and I've learned that I took a lot for granted back in the day. When I get better, I want to get a house, be a homeowner. I want to foster 3 to 16 girls at a time. And I want to adopt lots and lots of dogs. I want to rescue tons of dogs. So that's life with pandas for me. Thank you for watching, and I hope you were able to learn something. Bye!
this is a message from a teenager who would prefer to stay anonymous. Living with PANS, you face a lot of challenges. Besides symptoms being quite hard in themselves, it's also very hard to find a doctor who believes in PANS and will diagnose and treat it. Not being able to do what you love. It's hard. PANS is something you can't understand unless you live it. It's not just hard on us, but on our family also. It takes time, and treatment is expensive. It's isolating to have a misunderstood condition. It can feel like your mind and body are against you. It's scary to watch yourself change so quickly to a totally different person and to lose everything you once had. All your abilities, even basic things like walk and talk. It consumes your life 24/7 like there's a demon in your head being eaten alive, an out of control feeling. There's not really any positive to this illness, but I guess I would say I learned to appreciate what I have because it can so quickly be taken away.